Like, if your product was good, why would you have to pay me to talk about it? It's so hard to good specs. Android phone with 3. I don't know where you find that. And thank you for the $50,000. Oh, 50,000 hieroglyphic thingies. What is that? I don't know what that is. It looks like a D, but it's kind of like a hieroglyphic. Do you think companies have good reason to remove it, or is it anti-consumer? Well, the thing is, it's both at the same time. Removing it means you have one less thing to engineer. Removing it means it's easier to fit other stuff in there. Again, to be clear, it does not mean that. Thank you, John. That's way too much money. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Again, removing it means there's less to engineer. Now, when they say, well, it's easier to fit everything else in, it's easier to waterproof it. No, you were able to waterproof it with a headphone jack before. You could do that. It's just harder to do that. So what it does is it makes it easier to engineer. And it also, again, it's one of these things where it's not one thing. Everybody always assumes it's one thing. It's the company going, yes, we're going to fuck you. It's not. It's competing interest. The engineer does not want to have to do the extra fucking work of figuring out, okay, how do we, engineer this part so that this is waterproof in addition to the rest of the phone. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to go home early. The marketing department wants to sell some more Bluetooth headphones. The CEO wants to have better quarterly results. The shareholder wants to have better quarterly, wants to make more money. These are four interests. Like, none of those people are saying we are going out of our way to fuck over the American consumer. That's not how this works. You understand? Like, it's not like there's not somebody there going, yes, we're going to screw customers and get rich. It's just a bunch of different things. The companies are not like rubbing their hands together and going, we're going to get rid of the headphone jack to screw those users. It really isn't. It's like the engineer wants to go home early because, I don't know, he has a date with a new hot girl, and it's like, I'm excited. I want to leave early. Fuck that. I don't want to work today. The CEO wants to make more money. The marketing department wants to sell more Bluetooth shit, and the shareholder wants their shares to go up. So, like, are any one of those people individually saying we want to get rid of the headphone jack to fuck over the average consumer? Not really. It's just four different groups of people that all have a particular interest that just so happens to be served by that jack not being there. So, like, when it's one of these things. Like, this is what happens. This is what happens from just my experience from running this organization that I have, running the nonprofits and like working for other organizations. It's like, if upper management realizes that Bluetooth headphones sell better when there's no headphone jack, if the engineer who's supposed to make the headphone jack work and do that part of the board design, or the engineer that's supposed to do that, probably. If the engineer that's supposed to do that doesn't get that work done, instead of yelling at him, instead of reprimanding him, instead of making him stay late tomorrow, maybe they just don't do that at all. It's just that's how these things work out in real life in my experience. Admittedly, like 19-year-old me would say, yeah, they're going out of their way to fuck you. 35-year-old me realizes it's just the way interests work. Like, I am not going to get, I went over this when it came to payment processors. 4 or 5 years ago, I was using vBulletin, which is a garbage web form. I fixed the Zen4.0, which is much better, infinitely times better than vBulletin. vBulletin's garbage. And vBulletin also synced with, used PayPal for subscriptions, which is even more garbage. So you have like garbage on top of garbage. So like a Zen4.0 and Stripe, PayPal and vBulletin. Anyway, so the way that this worked is people would subscribe to my forum, and sometimes it would double bill them or triple bill them. And here's the thing, like, sometimes people would complain, right? And like 1 or 2 times people complained, and when that happened, my receptionist refunded them. Now, let's say that, he asked me what to do in this situation. I could say, yeah, refund them, and decide not to look into it. Or I could look into it. Now, here's the thing. If I look into that issue, there's no gain for me. Like, if I look into it and there's nothing wrong, well, okay, I just wasted 20 minutes of my life. If I look into it and there is something wrong, now A, I now have to fix something, which is a waste of even more time, and B, I have to refund people money. So I'm going to spend 30 to 50 minutes of my day doing work so that I can give away money? Like, it's just one of those things where it's not even like you're making a decision to be immoral or unethical. It's like your brain is masking it. Like, when you see a cute person, like, I don't know, you see a cute guy or a cute girl, and your brain just kind of starts to ignore the negative parts of their personality because you like being with the cute guy or the cute girl. It's kind of like that. It's like this subconscious shit that happens where your mind literally doesn't see the immorality of what you're doing, the same way that your dick stops you from seeing the lack of suitability for the partner that you're talking to because of how good looking they are. It's not like the person's rubbing their hands together and saying, I want to fuck consumers. It's, I have to do an hour of work to figure out if there is a problem. I'd rather do something else. Now, again, in my case, what I did is I looked into it and I realized this billing system that I have is horrible. It's genuinely horrible. And I found, okay, there were 2 people that complained, right? There were 9 people that were getting double billed that didn't even notice it. So I had to go back through my system. I had to change my form, which took hours. I had to figure out how to migrate it, which took hours. And then I had to refund 9 different people. So I put hours of work into fixing a problem that nobody was complaining about that lost me money. And it really is one of those things. When you see these types of problems, do you turn towards them, or do you decide, or do you just keep it in your subconscious? And that's one of the things that I think comes up with morality and ethics. It's not like somebody going out of their way to consciously be evil. It's just allowing something to stay in your subconscious and not really having that self-reflection. And I think a lot of people don't have that self-reflection. They don't have that ability to look in the mirror and really get an idea of who they are. And I think that's important if you want to be a moral or ethical person, which is one of the reasons that I go out of my way to assume in most situations that I'm the problem. Like, I'm the problem. I'm the piece of shit. I'm the bad person. I'm the one that's screwing people over. I'm the one that, that's being selfish. I'm the one that's being self-centered. I'm the one that has the problem. I always assume that, and because if I always assume that, I'm more likely to really dig deep and try to analyze why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then figure out the patterns that I may not even know exist. Because there are a lot of these types of patterns that you may not even know exist in yourself, and the only way that you're going to figure them out is if you dig a little bit. So yeah, this is something that goes far beyond just a headphone jack at a company, and it goes far beyond even the payment example. And this is what I said, when it comes to Apple and a lot of the anti-repair shit. I don't think that Tim Cook I don't think that they were just sitting there saying, we're going to go out of our way to make our products as unfixable as possible to fuck over the American consumer and remove rights of ownership. I don't think that that's what it was. What it is, in my opinion, is it turns into this thing where, let's say that there's a store that, just hypothetically speaking, quotes you $1,200 for a repair when the problem is a cable. I don't think that even Apple is doing something where they're rubbing their hands together and saying, we are going to make it impossible to fix anything. But what I do think happens is once it comes out that your repair policies are such that people are being quoted $1,200 to $2,000 when the problem is a screen cable, and you do nothing, then it goes from being oh, I didn't notice that, to being malicious. Like, the maliciousness is not in the beginning of the act. The maliciousness is once it's pointed out to you and you do nothing about it. That's when I think it becomes malicious.